In the Yorkshire Dales National Park in England, Whernside, Ingleborough and Pen-y-ghent are the infamous mountains that make up the Yorkshire Three Peaks Challenge. This route is 24 miles or 38.6 kilometres in length, and the challenge is to complete the entire hike in under 12 hours. To add a touch of difficulty to this, we chose to take it on in the depths of the English winter, encountering high winds, hail, snowfall and rain. This is both the story of our challenge attempt and a rough guide to the route should you feel inspired to one day have a go yourself. I'm Harry Morgan, and this is the Yorkshire Three Peaks Challenge! After a 6-hour drive, I arrived in the darkness of the Yorkshire Dales with only my head torch lighting the ground. The reason I'm here? Well, tomorrow, excitingly, I'll be taking on with friends Chris and Tom the Yorkshire Three Peaks Challenge. The three of us gathered by the fire for a drink before heading back out to get some sleep in our vans.
I always take too much, so it's just my thing.
It's my thing to take too much. Well, it is now half midnight and we are getting ready for bed. The alarm is set for 6:30 in the morning. Chris has managed to find himself tucked over there on the bench, and tomorrow we begin the Yorkshire Three Peaks Challenge.
Well, we've just woken up in the back of the jog-on van. It's time to hike. A small gap in the car park wall gave way to a view of the bitterly cold landscape that awaited us. We set off with enthusiasm. Chris and Tom, each being over 6'4", meant some seriously long strides for me to keep up with. Chris and Tom have gone for an altogether darker look. I'm slightly brighter. We were well packed and clothed for the conditions. You may notice in this video that I'm wearing fairly casual trousers. I had waterproof trousers at the ready in my backpack, but ended up being okay without. A quick disclaimer here, the three of us are experienced hikers who have completed multiple arduous routes together over the years, so we do have an idea of what we're doing. After watching this, if you decide to take this route on in the winter, do the research and make sure that you have the right kit so you can stay safe. Just having left Station Inn car park, we're now coming past the Ribblehead Viaduct to make our way up towards the summit of Whernside. Spectacular in its architecture and magnificence, the 24 arches of Ribblehead Viaduct stand 32 metres high above the moorland and have done since its opening in 1875. It's a worthwhile sight on the Three Peaks route. Top of Whernside at the moment is just shrouded in a little bit of cloud, but there are reports of there being snow up there, which is quite exciting. We've got a long way to go. The beam of the head torch illuminating the morning path, I opened the world's smallest gate at the top of a stile. Stones crunching under boots, this section saw us hiking parallel with the train tracks before hitting the 3-kilometre mark. Probably more snow than we anticipated on the top of Whernside. It's actually looking fairly white up there. Thank you, Tom.
All right.
Just a few spits of rain now. Weather looking a little gloomy, but the worst rain is predicted between 12 and 3 p.m. today. Chris, how bad is that window of rain? Torrential or just quite heavy? Quite relentless. With views of a distant waterfall, the path led us to another gate. Currently tracking this staircase of rocks. Your official gate opener, Tom. Coming over this stile, the sign there just saying 1 3/4 miles up to Whernside, which is nice. Just started sleeting. Got hail collecting on my trouser leg already. Looking forward to seeing that snow on the summit though. The wind was not letting up, and with moisture in the beard, we marched through mud and slush. Visibility is starting to drop a bit, but we pushed on up through the cloud line. A male and female grouse flapped away in front of us. As we ascend and gain height, the ground is slowly freezing out. A frosted staircase gave way to a few centimetres of snow beneath our boots. Conditions a lot rougher now as we approach the summit of Whernside. The wind's starting to really blow and that chill you can feel on the face. The edge of our route seemingly dropped away into an opaque grey mist. And before we knew it, we stumbled across the highest point in Yorkshire. This is summit number 1 of 3, Whernside, at 736 metres. This is the highest peak we climb. Sheltered from the biting wind, we ate and checked the map to plan our descent to the second peak, Ingleborough. Coming down now from the highest point in Yorkshire, conditions are pretty miserable, but we're grinning and bearing it. Quickly, the snowscape turned back to green and I got my camera working again. We've really come down out of the snow line now, had a few camera issues. We are making our way bit by bit down through this valley. Nicely lush green grass again, having trekked through all that snow. A couple of hours into our hike, a welcome surprise. An open barn provided a moment's rest from the conditions and even a coffee machine. Boom. Did not think I'd get a hot coffee during these 24 miles. Got this slight issue of having to take the gloves off to actually work the camera and partly drink the coffee as well. And then you have your gloves off for about more than 10 seconds. Your hands get absolutely freezing. So as it stands, we've been walking for 2 hours and 47 minutes. Over the stile, sign there saying 2.5 miles to the summit of our second peak, Ingleborough. Continuing on, we encountered a gate battling us in the wind.
It's quite windy!
As Chris demonstrated. Hello, right. I know it's winter and everything, but we really have seen very few people on this. 6 people total in nearly 3 hours of walking. Looking ahead, the base of Ingleborough rose up into a halo of cloud. With rain starting to fall, I broke into a jog to catch the others, and we edged ever closer to our second peak on slippery paths across the moor that turned into boardwalks, and then crooked wet steps that worked the lungs. My lips are a bit numb, so I can't even speak properly. Ingleborough rising sharply up in front of us, just off to the right there. We're going to follow the ridgeline, looking a tad ominous. The constant stepping up does take its toll over time on the legs. As soon as you felt you'd gained some height, the path would lead you back down. But then a moment's break in the ceaseless wind, and the only sound of air was that leaving our own lungs. A faint black line on the landscape marked the Ribblehead Viaduct. It was time to carry on. Just see a couple of people descending up there, that kind of zigzag stony path. Chris tested his surfing skills. Path looking nice and flat, but then all of a sudden it just zigzags up there. Suddenly we have to ascend. The climb up to Ingleborough from the Whernside approach might be relatively short, but it's definitely steep. Well, if we thought that the climb up to Whernside burnt the legs, this is something else. Tom and Chris meandering their way up above, barely looking out of breath. Hands as well as feet were beginning to be employed to climb. Just becoming a little bit of a scramble up here. Hot enough for the hat to momentarily come off, we tracked a small babbling mounting stream to what was surely nearing the summit. I'll try to do it normally, but I'm quite out of breath. The last time I was here was in the 1990s as a child. Things have changed a little bit since then. Face is a little bit warmer because of the beard. I wasn't so good at growing beards back then. We are getting quite close to the top now. It did take a fair bit of energy. Chris is leading the way up there, picking his way towards that summit. Once again, really exposed up here. The wind really picking up, as I'm sure you can hear right now. It's tough, but it feels good to get up here. Marching across a barren plateau, Chris once again demonstrated the wind's power, and enthused, we completed our second summit of the challenge. Some other people there battling their way against the wind. So we've now walked a total of 10 miles, 3 hours and 53 minutes of hiking. A moment's pause before heading down and away from the steep side to get us off of Ingleborough. We continue. Oh wow, that's pretty rock solid. Oh my word. Here we go. Well, that was satisfying. Satisfied with some ice breaking and witnessing the rare sight of other people, it's beautiful. The scenery took on a reddish-brown hue as we descended further, and in the distance we caught a glimpse of our final peak, Pen-y-ghent. Looks a fair way away, but bit by bit we'll chip away at it and we'll get over there. These clouds are just blowing through, a little bit of haze over here. Tom's got the camera out now. That's very helpful. Spurred on by the bad weather approaching, we tried running a section, but were soon slowed by more squelching mud underfoot. Greeting a group of bearded men, we decided to take a detour off of the main route because Tom knew of a place worth visiting. Whilst we were aware that this would take our 3 Peaks Challenge total distance up, we agreed it would be worth it. So we're now headed down to the entrance of Gaping Gill. Gaping Gill lays claim to being Britain's highest unbroken waterfall. A stream known as Fell Beck falls suddenly and sharply into a huge underground chamber. So just here at the mouth of Gaping Gill is where the river just disappears into, seemingly from this perspective, absolutely nothing. Hello, right, how you doing? And now we make our way back onto the main loop of the Yorkshire 3 Peaks Challenge. The route would next take us into a spectacular moss-covered gully. It's crazy. Climbing our way down this gully, rock's still a little wet and slippery. Looking at how precarious some of these trees are on the ridgeline, you've got to wonder whether these are ones that just fell into this gully. It was an amazing place. Tom and Chris checked the map and we carried on. As we tracked this wall on this short, sharp, steep grass embankment, it represents having now officially passed the halfway mark, which is a relief. The promise of civilization and a short break gave us a small surge of motivation. Hello. The ground is now, at least whilst rocky, a bit more level. It means we can pick the pace up again just a touch. We've just passed through 14 miles, 5 hours and 38 minutes of hiking thus far. Just got the first few flecks of rain. Now at 1 PM, it's only just maybe starting. Gloomy grey clouds ahead of the guys there. And one of our next stops, we follow this path for 2 miles down to Horton-in-Ribblesdale. Hello. This is a good sign. Literally, Horton-in-Ribblesdale, just 1 mile to go as we head down into the valley. We did have a little bit of rain, but it seems to have cleared up. And then something caught my eye. a hand-painted stone.
Keep or re-hide? I'm going to re-hide it. Yeah, why not? Chris has made a good suggestion. We'll hide it on the summit of Pen-y-ghent. These final steps bring us down to the train station.
And into the village itself. A lone fell runner was the only sign of life.
Pen-y-ghent Cafe on the Pennine Way, the sign indicating there. This is traditionally where people start their Yorkshire Three Peaks Challenge from. Obviously for us it started a little bit differently. In summer this would be teeming with hikers, fell runners and the like, but a little quieter today in the winter. Chris was just saying that's 5 kilometres to the summit of Pen-y-ghent and then 8 kilometres after that back to the jog on van.
Our third and final summit was just short of 2 miles away. But leaving Horton-in-Ribblesdale, the legs felt heavy and the energy systems low as we began the long ascent towards Pen-y-ghent. Moisture hanging in the air, we kept climbing. And then, as I looked up, it started to come into view.
And Pen-y-ghent rises up just in front of us. Slowly an outline appears up above us.
At 7 hours and 45 minutes on the clock, we hit the 20-mile mark, with Chris indicating that the path ended here and turned to a rocky scramble.
We climb.
It was a grueling section in the wintry conditions.
Quite a lot of hands and feet at this point. But with every step we get a little closer to that summit.
We trudged on, but then...
This is it, our third and final summit. Whoa.
In fact, if anyone watching this ever climbs Pen-y-ghent and finds this stone there or anywhere else on the route, drop us a photo on social media or email us. I'd love to see if someone found it again. Stone hidden, we took shelter before challenging the quads as we climbed down what Tom described to me as steps to nowhere. We knew we had a long way to go still to complete the route, but at least the coming down off of Pen-y-ghent represented a sort of home straight to the station inn at Ribblehead, where the vans were parked and our finish line awaited.
Just approaching the 9-hour mark.
Following a grey gravel path, I was surprised to find that
somehow after 9 hours and 18 minutes my Garmin watch is still going, looking at 23.5 miles at this point. They're sheltering. Claiming that Ribblehead is still 3 miles away. We're a little surprised because we thought we were closer than that. Just hit 10 hours. We are approaching a marathon distance of 26.2 miles. It's getting quite dark and we're still walking.
The light was quickly fading and conversation had quietened. Most of the focus was on just getting back and completing it. The head torch came out, and at that moment, with a few miles to go, it began to finally rain more heavily.
The head torch is out now. It really is starting to rain. We are soaked through, getting colder by the minute. Ribblehead is not far from here. It's been an absolutely huge effort.
We started to run.
Should have done this the whole way. The lights way up over there represent the station inn, our starting point. It's within striking distance.
And then finally, soaked and tired, we arrived back.
There it is, the station inn. Total time, Tom? A bit over 10.5 hours. That was not easy. We did it.
Already a mammoth route, we'd certainly not made it easier for ourselves. Traditionally a 24-mile route, we'd hiked over 28 miles in the depths of winter, but still had completed the 12-hour challenge in a final time of 10 hours, 43 minutes and 47 seconds. Whilst hard, it had been a grand adventure. We're back now at the station inn. That was the Yorkshire Three Peaks. I'm Harry Morgan. That's Chris. That's Tom Fitzjohn. And this is Jog On.